Hey, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Make Today Mammoth. I am your host, Dallas Hardcastle, and in today's episode, we are going to be talking about how to maximize your time. And that is ironically by not focusing on managing your time, but how to manage your energy instead. So make sure you stick around so that you can learn how this is going to help you to be able to create that owned experience where you get to maximize the freedoms you have from time, finances, your relationships, so that you and your loved ones, your children, your relationships, you get to maximize this short, precious time we have together on this earth. So we get to make today and every other day mammoth. We get to create our owned experience so that we get to have the spoils from the very freedoms that we get to create for ourselves. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. Once again, I am your host, Dallas Hardcastle of Make Today Mammoth. And today I want to talk about one of the greatest lies that we get to dispel. And it's with everybody talking about time management as being the key to be able to get the most things done, to be able to, as we will call it, collapse time. So rather than working an 8 or 10-hour day, to be able to work a 3 or a 4-hour day and get as much or more completed. But first, I would like to first of all thank you that if you are a new listener, thank you very much and welcome to. We're honored that you are investing some time with us here today. If you are a listener who's been with us for a little while, thank you very much to continue this journey with us. And whether you are new or somebody who has been around with us for a little while, please, we ask you to consider, if you haven't already, to maybe think about subscribing to the episode. But if you would please give us that 5-star rating and review, we would very much appreciate it no matter what platform you're on. The reason that is so important for us is that allows us to have the best chance to be found by other people. We do this show for free. We are doing this in the spirit of giving and trying to help others. We put a lot of time and energy and money into producing the podcast and the YouTube channel, obviously, and we do all of this for free. We pay out of our pockets to get this information out there. And what we want to do is be able to get the most people who are struggling, who really need the help, who really need that hand up, who are desperately trying to figure out something on how they can be with their kids more, with their loved ones more, have more finances, be able to live a greater life, a more purposeful life, a better life, own their life, to have those freedoms that most of us so desperately want, but just can never quite achieve. That 5-star rating allows us to get pushed up in the algorithm. So hopefully those people that really need our message from a real people talking about real stuff can hopefully best find us. So thank you very much for doing that. It only takes a minute and it will be so greatly appreciated. If you'll let me know you've done it, I will absolutely make sure and respond to you. And we got to get better and better at making sure that we can be found more and more easily on the different social media platforms. With that said, let's get started. So today's episode really is something that I had this awareness of it as an early age because I've always had a lot of energy. And that's the 50% story, right? So the 50% is, I think I've been kind of a high energy individual, but the other 50% is that I've spent almost my entire life being very, very intentional about making sure through exercise and diet and meditation, nutrition, and on and on and on, making sure that every single day I'm making these choices to help to maximize this energy that I have. But then some years ago, and this is maybe going back, I'm going to pull out a number here, 15 years ago, I came across this book called, you see this here, The Power of Full Engagement by Jim Lohr and Tony Schwartz. And I read this book, and the reason it was so impactful to me, and I think you'll probably recognize this as I'm saying it, is that there are books that we read that we like. Sometimes we kind of agree with them, don't agree with them, good information, not such good information. But the books that I resonate the most deeply with are where those beliefs, those values, those things that I already cherish and so much believe to be true, and I've recognized and witnessed them in my own life already to be truth. that then you all of a sudden find someone who has taken the time and the energy and the dedication to put all this stuff together and to write a great book. And then you read the book and you're like, yes, like I aggressively agree with everything you're writing in there, because that's been what's evidenced itself all through your life. So when I read The Power of Full Engagement, and it's about managing your energy and not your time, I was like 100%, right? So it wasn't so much like, oh, now I've read this and I want to steal or rip off their information. It was like, it just completely validated. Like, that's really the word I guess I'm looking for. It completely validated everything I believed. If you've ever just, you've had that and then you read that book and then you're like, that's completely my life. That's 100% me. It just completely validates all of my life's experiences. So with that, I want to make sure that we can talk about what is so important about this to make sure. So there's a few ways to really be able to have an owned experience. And we talk about this all the time. An owned experience to us is where you get to have, like, this is your life, right? This is my life. This is our life. We get to create our freedoms. It's about creating our life, our time, our freedoms, our experiences. I believe in this aggressively. This is not something where I think compromise comes in a lot. Like, I want you to come into the life where you get to do all the things you want to do. Not some of them, not most of them, but all the things you want to do, because it's your life. And this is not to be heard as the most extreme form of selfishness. It's just about me. To me, an owned experience, my freedoms mean I get to do the things that I want to do, which include hugely being with my loved ones, being with my parents, investing loads of time into my daughter and her friends, getting to create experiences, getting to create travel, getting to do amazing things that most people just don't get to do because they're kind of living by that stamped pattern of school and then job and then give your time to somebody else and let them dictate your hours and where you work and how you work and with whom you work and what you do and when you get out of work and when you have to arrive and what the things are you have to do once you get home and the amount of time you get to travel or to be away or to be content or calm or happy or blissful or whatever that is. Most of us are just used to living in just crazy, just hyper structured by someone else's life. So it's like we either get to design our own life or we get to leave it up to someone else to design our life for us. And I'm just aggressively in this other camp of creating my own freedoms, my own experience. And for you to be able to have that, there's really a couple layers to it. But number one is to maximize the work time. So as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, we get to do this. We get to choose how much work we want to get done, not only every single day, every week, every month, but we get to decide that because we can figure out just how disciplined and how focused, and sometimes like radically so, where we get so bloody, just dialed into our thing. You hear of time blocking, and we're going to touch on this, and then we'll keep touching on this as we go forward. But a time block is something like 90 minutes. And when we talk about time blocking is the ability to use what I would consider to be kind of time management, but it's energy management too. So let me give you these layers, okay? Because to time block, for those who aren't familiar with time blocking, first of all, let's set the table. Time blocking is what I would consider to be, it can be anywhere between, it can be any period of time, but generally it's between 60 and 120 minutes of time. I like to do these in 90-minute periods of time. But a time block, a 90-minute period of time, is where we are shutting off all outside noise, all distractions, all the external stuff, all the notifications, phones off, computers off, everything. And we are able to dive in for 90 minutes into only focus on that critical task at hand with zero distractions. And if it takes 90 minutes, it takes 90 minutes. If it takes 45 minutes, well, then we complete that and then we immediately move in, and then we still have 45 minutes remaining of that 90-minute block. So it's not that we need to just only focus on, it has to be a 90-minute thing. And what happens if it's a 2-hour thing, or what happens if it's only a 15-minute thing? The point is that we get in and we focus and we only do that thing. And we have radical discipline and focus. Radical discipline and focus. This is what I found to be true in nearly every single business. And if you don't believe this right now, that's okay. Stay with me. But I have found the overwhelming majority of business owners and entrepreneurs, and I don't mean like low-level producers that are kicking by and making maybe a few thousand a month or 10 grand a month or whatever. I mean very high producing ones that are making multiple 6 figures and are making multiple 7 figures. Some are making multiple 8 figures, not revenue, income in their businesses. One of their superpowers is they, number one, take care of themselves so that their energy is at amazing levels. They don't tire out. They have stamina, right? Peak performance. So the nutrition, the exercise, the hydration, all of these elements, the journaling, the meditation, all of these elements are present so that when they are time blocking, they are operating at an incredibly high level and they're able to absolutely stick in there. But the point is that I have met people that are operating at the absolute highest of levels, clients, friends, colleagues, mastermind members. And if they perform 2 90-minute blocks a day and they do that for the week, they're able to get the overwhelming majority of all of their work done, and oftentimes 100% of it done, meaning that 2 90-minute blocks, so 3 hours of super hyper-focused work a day, 5 days a week, 15 hours a week. In that 15 hours a week of super crazy hyper-focused time, they're able to get the overwhelming majority of all of the things done in their life and in their business. Overwhelming majority of their business stuff done. And when I say life, I don't mean time with their family and all this other stuff. But I mean, within their lives, when they get crazy focused on the business side, 2 90-minute time blocks, they get an overwhelming amount of stuff done. I want to make sure I touch on this here. So make sure that we understand, just again, for our baseline, that when we talk about time blocking, what we're ultimately talking about is when you hear people talk about managing time, you hear talking about multitasking. And I want to make sure we talk about that, right? So remember, if you don't know this, this will be new to you. Great. But there is no such thing as multitasking, okay? No such thing as multitasking. That was a term created, I think, back in the 60s or the 70s about computers and processors, that they began creating these processors that could multitask. They could begin to do these multiple different things, but really what they were talking about was task switching. So it was misnamed from the beginning. All it was able to do was task switch, binary, the zeros and ones, but it could begin to do it fast. So you're thinking about multitasking, and you're thinking about your computer doing 3, 5, 10 things, and these crazy fast computers began processing and doing all these amazing things. Really what they were describing was task switching, that it could go back and forth so rapidly and so quickly, it created the illusion that it was multitasking. We as humans cannot multitask. We are incapable of multitasking. So whenever someone says, well, they're really good at multitasking, all they're describing is that they're very, very good at getting distracted by lesser important things. That's all it means, okay? Don't believe that. Test it for yourself. But this is not a Dallasism. This is a factism, a study over and over and over-ism, that there's always the most important thing in your life. If you're in the process of doing a piece of business, there's always going to be the number one most important thing to do. There's always the number one thing, and then there are going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 other things to also get accomplished. But there's only one most important thing, only one most critical thing. So every time that we jump from that phone call over to the email, over to the text, over to jump in to finish this thing up, to get that video, to get that thing edited, to jump back over to that, to listen to that notification, to jump into social media, All we're doing is we're task switching. We're not multitasking, we're task switching. And every single time you switch tasks, you are taking yourself to a lesser important activity, and you are needing to stop, reset, re-engage, and begin a process all over again. And then when you stop it, then it puts you through the exact same sequence over and over and over and over again. So you continually slow yourself down. So here's the punchline. When you are doing what you think is multitasking, you're task switching, and it is increasing the amount of time it'll take you to do these series of tasks anywhere between 50% and 200%. What does that mean? That means that if you had 5 things to do, and if you do them each individually, one after the other, one, you get them done in that order, and they will take you 1 hour to do those things. If you are multitasking and or task switching, instead of it taking 1 hour, it will take anywhere from 50% longer, 90 minutes, to 200% longer, 3 hours. So it's going to take you between 90 minutes and 3 hours to do 1 hour of activities, okay? So you want to remain completely focused on that singular activity, number 1. Number 2, create these time blocks that can be supported by not just you managing your time, but your energy. Manage your energy, which means that we are moving into our day in the beginning, hopefully, by paying attention to our sleep the night before, paying attention to our routine and rituals before we go to bed. So we're not on the social, we're not doing the blue light thing, we're not getting stimulated, we're not eating right before bed, we're not drinking right before bed. That we're making sure that we're ready for bed, and then we get the good sleep, and then we wake up from the good sleep, and then we get ourselves hydrated, and then we take care of whatever those nutritional needs are that are the good ones. If you want to fast and you're doing intermittent fasting, fantastic. But you're doing these things that are granting you health and foods and the exercise and the breathing and the mental work and the emotional work, the physical work, the journaling, the meditation, all of these things that allow the greatest part of you to show up. So your energy is there. So when you can manage your energy, meaning you have the stamina, you have the willpower, you have the growth, you have the ability to go through and do things that the vast majority of the world cannot sustainably do, that is what allows you to be able to get into then what is really not managing your time so much, but your energy. Imagine as a peak performer, if you, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, if you can operate at a 10 for those 2 90-minute blocks every single day. Imagine you can step into that with 0 distractions, 0 task switching. You are laser focused on getting 3 hours of the absolute most critical, important things done in your day, and you get the critical things accomplished in 3 hours. What if you start those things at 7 a.m.? I have very successful friends, colleagues, mentors that they go in their scheduler and they work for 4 hours a day. Like that's their day. And they're running. And when I say 4 hours a day, it's not like, oh, Dallas, you just said 3, but they're 4. They're running many companies. The average business owner, entrepreneur, they're trying to run a business, their business. These are people that run sometimes 10, 12, 15, 20 businesses in different sectors, different industries, different marketplaces. They're running these because they have the stamina, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, that energy that allows them to thrive during that block of time. And some of them, it's like from 6 to 10 a.m. They get up early, they do their stuff, and then from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., it's work. And they are crazy hyper-focused, man. And they are studs and a half. But then when he or she is done with the work at 10 a.m., they're done. Like 95% of their day is done. Now, do they get the odd text or the message or the call they need to hop on? Of course. Have a team member reach out, somebody who's checking in, this, that, and the other. But I'm talking about the critical foundational pieces that are required to be done. The most important things the things that are the most important things that, keep the main thing kind of thing, they're finishing that thing in a 4-hour block. And by 10 a.m., Monday through Friday, they're done. So this is my challenge in my quest to you, is I want you to recommit. If this is your first time hearing this, if this is your 37th time hearing this, beginning today, beginning first thing tomorrow morning, whenever you're hearing this, I want you to recommit to starting a great day the evening before, where you write down and you get actually written down on your computer, in a note, in your journal, these are the things and the order and the sequence in which I'm going to be performing these things tomorrow for my business. These are the critical things that are required to be done. And I am going to commit to a 3-hour radical just bunkering in, so that no distractions, no outside world can get to me. So that I am getting the most important things done without letting other outside forces, these external forces, trying to impose their agenda on me. This person, that person, trying to impose through their email, their text, their notification, their ping, their message on the things that are required of me, when I know that these 3, 4, 5, 10 things that I'm going to have this 90-minute block, a little break, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and then you jump back into your 90-minute block, I will be bunkered in so tightly, and I am going to be so hyper-focused that I get all of my stuff done, and I will get it completed. I will not move on from anything until that one thing is completed and completed at its very best, and then I move right into my next thing. And I know that if I treat this as a sprint, and if I do it for 90 minutes, and if I have the right energy so that I can sustainably do this for 90 minutes, we're not talking for 9 days, right? 9 hours, we're saying 90 minutes, 15 or 20 minute break, pause, and then another 90 minutes. I want you to do that for me, and do it for me for a week, and share with me how radically different you feel physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and how much more productive you become. Radically crazy more productive, because you're not task switching. You're not bouncing from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. Your 5-minute email takes 5 minutes, not 20 or 25 minutes, because you jumped to here and this text, and you jumped into this other email, and oh, you just remember this video thing, and oh, you want to reply to that thing, and oh, you got a quick notification, and oh, what's going on in Sports Center over there, and this and that, and oh yeah, oh, I forgot you're going to stop by. Oh, let me bounce out over here real quick. Oh, let me run this quick errand, and then I'm going to come back, and then I'll finish that thing up. The email that I see people start at 8:30 in the morning, and then it's like 11. They're like, oh shit, I never sent that. Nah. Guess why? Because for 2.5 hours, lesser important things distracted them. They were task switching for 2.5 hours, bouncing out of all these things that are not as important. They're clearly not as important. But task switching, multitasking, gives you the opportunity to screw up many things, and to constantly admit the fact that you can't remain committed and focused on the most important thing, because the most important thing is always the most important thing. So if you're allowing lesser important things to distract you, now all of the lesser important stuff is getting attention that is undue to it, and you're not doing any of the things as well, and all of the things are taking longer. I want you to commit to becoming a master of managing your energy, so that you can manage that block, so that you can finish a 3-hour workday and just sit back and let me know. Did you get 80%, 90%, 99%, 100% of all of the must-dos for the day? Do that for a week. Let me know how amazing things are for you. This one's gone a little bit longer, but I really wanted to make sure we got these points across to you today. Friends, we appreciate you. Thank you very much for investing this amazing time with us today. Again, I am Dallas Hardcastle. I am so glad you were here with us today. Use this information and use it right away. No time like now. As always, my friend, make today mammoth, and we will look forward to speaking with you again very soon. Take care.